Okay, so welcome to this week's roundup. I thought we'd tried slightly different format this week, going through a bit of energy industry news as well as Fox updates, following on from the live Q&A that we had with Craig a couple of weeks ago, as well as some recent announcements that have gone onto the internet and some new product releases as well. So this week is going to be a little bit of an update on all things sort of Fox, but also I'm excited to bring a guest presenter on to this week's roundup. Let me bring James from SunVolt onto the stream. Thank you for joining us, James. A lot of folks know you from the group. James and SunVolt have been very early in on the group and are also a recommended supplier for all things Fox as well. So a lot of you have seen the name, and now you get to put a face to the name and also hear a bit more about James. And I've got a few questions as well, which I think people may find interesting when it comes to what's going on in the industry. So welcome, James. Introduce yourself to the group.
Yeah, thanks, Will. Yeah, so hello everyone. My name's James Megson. I'm a director of SunVolt. We are a Cardiff-based supplier, wholesaler, and reseller of solar PV gear. I met Will probably maybe 6 months ago. One of the products and brands we love is Fox. So we are a sourcing specialist of all solar PV gear. So it's been a great community. We've done a lot of business with a lot of people, a lot of reselling, a lot of supplying, and yeah, it's a great place to be and do business.
Awesome, yeah, and it's not just Fox specific gear as well. I know you do a number of brands, but also all of the auxiliaries and accessories. I think I've had the rails, cable. I've had all sorts from you. You can supply almost anything I need, right?
Yeah, sorry, we are your one-stop shop. That's kind of how we operate. A small amount of background. We entered the industry around 2 years ago, and we actually looked at installing. I have a business partner behind the scenes who's extremely technical. I'm not the technical one. I am purely sales and business minded. And we soon realised entering the market that installs weren't really for us. It was a race to the bottom. You were outlaying a huge amount of money, and companies now, I don't want to name too many, but are doing jobs for £100 profit, and it's extremely difficult to run that kind of business. So we moved more into the wholesale and supply and reselling. I've built an extremely vast network now. So if you need something, the chances are I can find it, and the chances are I can find it for a fantastic price, and I can have it delivered straight to your door. My only promise, if I don't have it, I'll go and find it, and I won't let you down. And I'll always be honest, if I can't find it, I can't find it. But usually we can, and we specialize in that.
Absolutely, and that's probably quite pertinent to some of the questions we've got today and some of the product updates as well, in terms of how the newer generations are coming out and also how that's affecting stock of older generations and how that impacts. So got some exciting content today to go through. So if you are in the position where you're thinking about scaling your battery investment as the solar starts to dwindle down, stay on, because we're going to cover all of those topics with James in a little bit. But first of all, James, I think a lot of us, have had installations done by large companies. We've scaled a battery or two, but we don't know a lot about what's going on, behind the scenes. So from your perspective, what's hot right now, what's selling, and do you know why?
Yeah, I mean, in relation to Fox, I think the main thing that is selling is the expandable batteries, anything you can stack. So the HV series, the MIRAs, the 2600s, and the cubes, really, that they are our most popular products. I don't deal with a huge amount of inverters, for instance, because you've already had your inverter installed. So chances are, your average customer isn't going to want to mess about. If they've just laid out, I don't know, £10,000, why would they go and swap their inverter? But what I do know is if you've laid out potentially £10,000, that investment might have included one battery. Well, if that battery is only 5 kilowatt or maybe less, you've now had 6 months or a year, maybe you've saved some more money, you've come into some new funds. And that's why we like reselling Fox, because you can stack it up to a certain amount, and it's for someone with every budget. Sometimes I have customers that, I want four today, and they just do it. And I've had customers on the group, you all know who you are, they speak to me every 3 months, and hi, it's me again, can I have another one? Yeah, no problem. And I've grown to kind of know what these people have, so I kind of expect the call, and I'm like, yeah, no problem. And then at some point it'll finish, and then there'll be another customer ready to expand. So yeah, the 2600s, the mirrors, and the Q batteries for me are, you know bread and butter. I suppose they are the products that people want. And I suppose in 6 months there'll be another product that's hot. But for now, it is that classic saying of keep it simple, stupid. That is what's going on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I suppose the advantage you can see Fox evolution of the batteries from the HV2600 and what is now an almost indistinguishable MIRA version, the HV25. They've gone from plugging cables in and them looking quite industrial to a massive leap in both install efficiency, but also the cosmetic appearance with the cubes. I was having a conversation with an installer yesterday, and we were talking about in terms of, well, Fox is a professional product designed to be installed by a professional installer, and we were talking about things like liabilities and how that works, but we kind of got to the same conclusion of with their newest series of the ECS cubes, you really can't install them wrong. They've only got two types of fitment, type A, type B. They will not go together if you've got the wrong one, which occasionally happens if you don't look at what you've already got or understand that there's two. So from an installation perspective, the biggest risk is can you lift 40 kilograms, place to the side and stack another one on top. But you
Yeah.
can't. I don't believe you can misinstall them very easily because of the
No,
evolution that Fox have gone to, right, with their
no.
with how the
Part of
product
my
works.
job part of my job is to check which connector you have, type A, type B, etc., etc. We've had a few instances where I haven't asked, they haven't specified, they've been sent the wrong connector type. Not a problem. It doesn't fit. Send it back, and we'll just get it sorted out. But yeah, that and maybe space. I've had a few customers, and we've gone to actually install it, and we've seen that maybe their inverter is too low, and they've had to put it off of the garage wall where the car's there. So that's kind of like the biggest problem that people might come across with the cubes. But yeah, in terms of accessibility and ease, they're a good option.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, once it's installed, scaling to it is not an intimidating process at all. Whereas with the older generation, the old HV series, that you've got to you've got to be buttoned up in terms of right. I'm disconnecting wires, and could I misinstall them? And there have been a number of occasions where people have shorted out their battery stack and required fuse upgrades and things like that. But that's it's not a thing with the cubes, and the EP series now I think is targeting that sort of Tesla Powerwall customer, that form factor. You spoke about having it installed in the garage. Well, there's no better battery to fit into your garage than an EP range now, because it's probably takes up less space than even the garage door edges. So have you seen much interest in the EP range, James?
Yes, I get inquiries daily on them. I think it's like anything. I think when things are kind of new, people already have something potentially, and unless it's a new install, maybe they don't need it or they're not ready for it. And yeah, the inquiries I get maybe off installers for them, but yeah, people that I deal with, especially in the group, already have their batteries, so they want to expand purely what they've got. We do have inquiries for new business, and I suppose when there's a new product, people are interested in it. So yeah, but as I always say, I think over the next 6 months we'll see more and more interest in those things coming through. As they get a little bit more popular and more people have them. It's I think the EP batteries. if you look on the group, for instance, you won't see 100 people with a photo of them, but daily I get asked and you see photos of cubes and HV2600. So I think that probably shows where the EP series is sitting at the moment in the community market, you know.
No, absolutely. And speaking of new to market products, Fox we got a very early we got a glimpse into what was coming at the Q&A with Craig, where he mentioned the PowerQ, and then for at least 3 days after that, I was calling it the PowerQ, but it is PowerQ. Fox have officially announced the PowerQ, which is a product that it's a hybrid inverter that will stack on top of existing or new cube batteries. So it replaces the well, at the moment you have your slaves, then your master your master battery, which contains the battery management system, the BMS. So that top layer of that sandwich isn't required anymore. No BMS or master, because the inverter that is the same size and form factor footprint wise will go on top of the batteries. And I'll just put a picture on screen for folks, so you can see that the top module, the wavy design, that's actually a hybrid inverter. That's where all your AC and your DC connects into neatly. It stacks on top of the existing technology that Fox have really revolutionized over the last couple of years in their cube design. But it means that you don't have to have a separate inverter now. I think this is being driven, as Craig mentioned, by new regulations about not having exposed wiring, etc. A lot of a push from a standards perspective for battery systems to be moved outside of the property. So there was a big drive over the last 10 years of installers putting the inverter and the batteries up in the loft where it's convenient for the panels, but that's kind of now starting to be removed from recommendations under BSI, and it will only be a period of time where new installs won't be allowed to be installed under regulation. So it'll move from more guidance, advice, recommendation to regulation. So I think Fox are trying to get ahead of that incoming regs change by producing a product that replaces the all-in-one system. So if you've got an all-in-one where it's that metal square box fixed to the wall that currently takes up to four HV2600 batteries, this product you can now scale with cubes over 40 kilowatt hours if you're using the EQ 4800s. The top module being the inverter, it looks great. It bolts up against the wall as a stack, and it's just an all-in-one self-contained system that you can go from a couple cube slaves with the inverter on top and then scale it up as you go. So really interested to see the take-up of the PowerQ storage system. So far we haven't got a data sheet. We've got an install video. We've had some hints from Craig about what's being worked on. If you were able to attend Solar and Storage, if you're in the trade, I believe one of these was on the wall there as well. I've seen in some of the videos. So an exciting new product that will be coming out later this year to replace the all-in-one and give new installs an opportunity to have something that's cosmetically pleasing, same size footprint as the cubes, but is an all-in-one solution. It was confirmed on the live Q&A with Craig that this would also support a parallel function, so you'd be able to pair them together, multiple inverters, probably in the same fashion that you can with today's inverters, up to 10 inverters. There's also an energy hub, which is the equivalent of a Tesla gateways, that allows you to blend solar, battery storage, grid through the app. So, and also covers off-grid and power outages, so it will automatically switch. A lot of folks have had to implement their own form of automatic changeover or using EPS circuits for critical loads. So this energy hub product will be able to do all of that for you as a professional product that can be installed alongside your Fox system. Still no details on what products are compatible at launch time with this hub. I think initially it seems to be hinting that the PowerQ is is the first or the only product right now that is being launched with support for it. But as we've learnt with Fox, they've got the ability to push software changes down to the inverters to give the new capabilities and new features. So really interesting space to watch when it comes to new product announcements. Any thoughts on the PowerQ, James?
One thing that is very interesting is what you said about keeping installations out of the loft. And due to my limited technical knowledge, I can't tell you all of the reasons why, but I know in our early days we saw some installations in the loft, and some of them are so scary. And those days of lugging, however heavy these. Do you remember the LV 5200 battery? It was,
Yeah.
I think it was sort of 50 kilos, and I remember in the very, very early days, I attended an install that I supplied the batteries to, and one man lugging four batteries up into the loft. There was no smoke alarm in the loft. It was just so, and there's insulation everywhere that's extremely flammable. So the main thing I took away from that is getting these installs out of the loft and out into an area that you can see and is maybe controllable if anything does go wrong. I think is really important, and it's nice to see brands, taking that as an important factor. However, I don't want to scare anyone that does already have an install in their loft. I just think it's extremely important to make sure your system is checked, maintained. 100% a smoke alarm up there at some point. It's okay as long as your installer's done a great job. I don't want to scare anyone, but yeah, getting them out of loft is definitely a positive thing to do for people. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, great point on the. So we noticed that the MCS regs added fire detection devices actually quite recently in the last year or so. So there could be thousands, if not tens of thousands, of installs where they've got inverters in the loft with no smoke detection devices. The other problem is a lot of new construction properties. So if you're in a new build or thinking about buying a new build, you'll notice that the structural load capacities of a newer, I would say somewhere after, I think it's 2010, early 2000s they changed it. So you'll notice the joists are much thinner
Absolutely.
wood in your loft, and you're piling. Well, in some cases, if you have a full stack of HVs, you're half a ton, something like that. You can get quite. It's a lot of load, and I know we used to have water tanks in our lofts, but if you looked at the joists in a 1990s build property where they're about a foot thick compared to what they're putting in today's new construction, I was told by Persimmon and Bloor, but multiple house builders, that you shouldn't even store empty boxes or empty suitcases up there. They do not want lofts being really user accessible. If they could get away with not having a door, they probably would do. So to have all of that up there, like you say, in a combustible environment, it's sort of, spells disaster. Luckily, you never really hear about it, but you understand why the forward-looking regs would discourage it and eventually enforce that it can't be done. And if you've got an install in your loft, then you are compliant to the regs because they were at the time it was allowed.
Absolutely.
However, you may want to contact your installer if you've got a better, more suitable place to have those batteries moved, and move from a DC coupled to an AC coupled. So you'd buy an AC inverter. You get in touch with James, buy an AC inverter. Your installer would come along, move your batteries, fit that inverter, and it would be able to see the power that's coming out of your solar inverter and leaving your house through the CT clamp, and then it would charge your installation. That could be anywhere on your property as long as it's fed by the same power supply that's going to your house. It will all work. So those are options. And yeah, I do
Absolutely.
remember the days of
Yeah,
hoiking
I'm in
batteries
agreement
into the
with you.
loft.
Yeah, yeah. And if you have, again, I don't want to scaremonger anyone, and this is a little bit away from what I do, but if you do have an install in the loft and you're concerned, worried, anything really, don't take the chance. Make sure you get someone professional to cast their eyes over it and go to sleep with that peace of mind, because no one wants the loft going up in flames, you know. And Will, you said, you know, we don't hear about it. I do hear about those things, and it's not good. You don't want that. So any concerns, definitely get that checked. And that goes for all solar installs. If you're not happy with something, you know, bring it up. Say, listen, I'm not happy with that. It needs to be changed, because we're not talking little voltages here. We're talking the sun, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. DC's nasty stuff as well, and batteries are heavy. The Fox batteries are based on lithium ion phosphate, so the safest chemistry you can buy. But at the same time, they still, you know, they are still a chemical reaction. In the couple batteries I've seen fail on the group in literally years, they tend to leak or just stop working. It's not the sort of like the Daily Mail where you just see a car on fire at the side of the road. That's not happening in your loft, but it is a possibility. And Fox design their products, and you'll notice that the enclosures that these batteries are in is the reason they're heavy is because they're also well built. They're normally in a metal enclosure for containment reasons as well. But yeah, if you've not got at least a smoke alarm, you can buy a £10 Fire Angel. You know, just stick it onto the ceiling of your loft. It will last for years, and it will give you that early warning. Not that, like I say, it's now a requirement. So if you've had a newer install, you will have a fire detection device as part of your install, as long as it's compliant to NCS.
I've just thought of a new product I'm launching. If anyone wants a SunVolt fire alarm, $9.99. Give me a call. I will send you one out. Okay, that's a promise.
Nice, yeah, no, absolutely. But no, it's an interesting area, and then to move the batteries outside is a great idea. You know, to a garage or to the side of the house, with a disadvantage of your batteries now susceptible to the elements and the temperatures which they're designed for. But we also heard from Craig in the Q&A that the latest generation of the cubes and the EP ranges, they all have battery heaters and thermal management. So not only are they going to be safe in and operate in warmer climates, but also for us here in the UK, when it dips to to single figures negative for most of us during the coldest winters, you're going to have the battery's going to be able to provide some gentle internal heat in order to keep it within its operating range, which is a really interesting feature that they've developed. So you can see that the gears are turning their head. Their R&D and their product development teams are working on building products that now can go outdoors and work well, which is it's really interesting to see. In other news, Octopus have announced Octopus Mercury, which is their attempt at trying to harmonize all of the multiple IoT and IoT devices, smart home devices. So what their intent is, you've got your solar, your house battery, your maybe have an electric car or a hybrid plug-in car. You've also got all of the tech inside of your house, so water heaters, heat pumps, even down to things like washing machines and dishwashers. So there's lots of open protocols out there that allow smart home tech to work together. You've got things like Zigbee, Z-Wave, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, a few of the newer standards around Thread and Matter. But it appears that Octopus Energy believe that there is not one good protocol and standard that allows all of these things to talk together. So if you buy, say, a Fox battery and solar system and don't have a Fox charger because you've gone with a Zappi or a Tesla wall connector, you'll find integrating these devices can be a bit challenging. So they're producing a protocol that they want other manufacturers to adopt, so that, hey, when your solar is plentiful or your cheap rate kicks in overnight, that your dishwasher can turn on, that your car will charge, that your heat pumps will be able to ramp up or ramp down due to the pricing. So it's really interesting that Octopus aren't trying to leverage another standard, and actually they're saying, hey, there is room here for us to create a standard, to share a standard, and to collaborate with hardware manufacturers to be able to suddenly, hopefully, get it down to one app can control all of your house's high energy sort of systems. Any thoughts on that, James?
Sounds wonderful, Will. I must admit, I am certainly not the most technical man, and I'm sure the correct research has been done. But I do need to get a little bit more. I'm in the process of buying my first home at the moment, and I'll be putting solar on. So I think I'll be coming to you for the correct advice on these tariffs, because they're extremely interesting on what they can actually do for you, and times, and yeah, it's fantastic. It's not something I'm clued up with, and I should do more research. But it does
Yeah.
sound like there's something for everyone, depending on maybe if you work at home, like you say, if you have a car charger. And it sounds like it's now being tailored to what products you have on your home. And I think as we go forward, we're going to see the integration with maybe more AI sort of technologies, etc., etc. Some people won't be happy with that, but the homes are just getting smarter, and a big problem, and one of the biggest things we see in the solar industry is the cost of living. So if you can do something to save yourself a couple of quid, maybe it's as simple as switching over to a new tariff, etc., then I'm all for it. Absolutely.
Yeah, so you're going to experience hopefully the problem that Octopus are trying to solve. So you'll have your house fantastic. You'll have your solar, your batteries. You'll probably then be thinking about, hey, how do we drive electric? So looking at an EV. You'll have your heat. If it's a brand new build, you'll probably have a heat pump instead of a gas boiler as well. Things like that, and then you'll be left with a phone with 6 apps to get everything to do anything. And Octopus are
Right.
going to try and convert all of that into just one place. And I like the idea about, AI. There are some manufacturers that can do a little bit of prediction, so they can look at your usage and look at the weather and the temperatures and the solar forecast, and sort of charge appropriately. That's not at the moment. You can integrate Fox with the agile tariff from Octopus, but you can't do things like weather compensation and solar forecasting easily. There's a few community-driven approaches. So there's an energy management tool that Nathan's produced as available as a GitHub, but you've got to have a few prerequisites there as well. So to have it all baked in, so that Fox could go right. So it looks like Will works from home, every Friday. So on Friday, I probably need to charge a little bit more on Thursday evening, because I know that
Yeah.
we're going to have the heating, we're going to have the computers running all day, etc. So I think that technology will hopefully be ubiquitous, and for Octopus to step forward and go, we're going to try and do this and take a first stab at it and open it to other manufacturers. That I can't wait to see where that is. By the time that you've got all those different hardware devices, you might be able to have it all running just from one easy to use app, James.
Absolutely, and that's business. You've got to be brave enough to be at the forefront. I believe these technologies are out there. I'm learning things. I am not the most technical person in the world. Any customer that's ever spoken to me will know that I'm fantastic at providing customer service and generating an invoice. But I'm daily finding these tools to streamline our business and make customer experience better with us. So yeah, if you can integrate that in all aspects of your life, some might say it's a negative, and some might say it's a positive. So I think it's just about finding that in between, and being able to not use it if you don't want it. If it's not for you, of course, don't use it. But I think what you just said about maybe it learning about your routines, etc., in the home. It's smart home technology, and I think it's a huge industry, and I find it fascinating, to be honest.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know a few people have done this already on our group. I've seen a lot of very smart folks that have been able to write their own scripts and programs that cater for their exact needs, which is kind of the purpose of the community. When I first created it all those years ago, to allow people to share ideas. We've had a number of integrations pop up, and there's just a really great community spirit about getting the most out of your investment, instead of what others have offered, which is, hey, here's our app, it can only do these things. very rarely gets updated, whereas Fox are, well, the updates are almost weekly, it feels like, and the community are coming up with new ideas and able to expose them. And Fox's collaboration and change of view over the years in terms of being developer friendly, it's really great to see. Talking about things that Fox are up to, I noticed yesterday that they're now listed as a tier one provider for on the benefit list of Bloomberg, which is exciting. And what they're showcasing is the GMAX. This is that large commercial grid scale battery technology. So I'm really keen to understand how Fox can compete in a space at a grid scale. So if all of our individual homes are solar and battery powered, and the grid is using us to take power off the network when it's cheap, and to save power from the network when it's expensive or it's difficult to produce. There's only so much an individual house can do, even if you've got millions of them all connected to this technology. But at a grid or a commercial level, Tesla have tried to do this a few times with what they call their mega pack, and Fox seem to be having an almost competing product coming out where grid operators are going to be able to utilize battery technologies to do that smoothing of the demand curve, which that you've not seen them attempt to do any of this over the years. So to see them come out with a grid or a large commercial offering is really exciting. Behind the scenes, inside of these units, you'll find similar cells to what you have at home in your batteries. So when you ramp up production and the economies of scale, but the more grid or large commercial cells they sell, and they get more efficient at building cells, you'll see the price of batteries reduce like we have over the last few years. It's almost half what it costs to install per kilowatt hour than what it was when I've had my batteries installed all those years ago. So it's really impressive to see their investment in the large and commercial space for power. Speaking of scaling, so we're coming up to that time of the year. The posts are starting to appear on the group about the colder weathers, how that's impacting batteries, and about what options you have around scaling. So as solar starts to reduce, as we go into those less sunnier days, colder months, the sun doesn't get quite as high in the sky anymore. Your solar generation is less. You're relying on your batteries more. It's this time of year, every year we see a couple trends. People asking how to scale their batteries, and people asking how to get the most out of their batteries in the colder weather. So in regards to scaling, well, that's quite an easy answer. We've got the man on the phone as well to advise us about this. But if you've got a HV, a Cube, or even an EP, they are all a scalable product. So there is, depending on what product it is, it might need a junction box if it's an EP battery, or if it's a Cube, you need to make sure you've got the right connector type. If it's a HV battery, there are a couple versions of the HV, version 1 and version 2, as well as for the MIRA as well. So what's your advice, James, on anyone that's got a version 1 HV 2600 that are now starting to go, end of life? How would they scale?
Yeah, so as Will's just mentioned, the version 1 HV 2600 is near enough impossible to get now. I can't buy them anywhere. I sold all the ones I did have. If anyone watching has a warehouse full of them, I will purchase them cash. But no, my advice, if you have the version 1, is purchase a V2 BMS from myself, and then just use a V2 battery. I can't give exact prices now, but you can upgrade your BMS for under £200. It's a little bit annoying, I know, but that will allow you to then integrate version 1 and version 2 batteries, and then you can continue scaling. So it's a swap out of a BMS. Will, I'm sure you can advise on how tricky that sort of swap out is. I don't think it is necessarily that hard. Any decent installer can do it for you. So that's the advice your installer should be giving you as well. If you ring and say, I want to expand, and they say, we can't get version 1 batteries, we'll just say, Will on the Fox community group says that you can get a V2 BMS, and then you're away. So that is the way. You might be able to find a version 1 battery on the second-hand market. Personally, I'd never recommend the second-hand stuff, but if you want to keep it all legit and above board, I'd go brand new BMS, and carry on scaling. And at first, I've had probably 4 customers this week all do the same thing, and they were reluctant. Of course, they've spent £10,000 and above maybe on their solar system, and then they're being told that they have to spend more to maintain it. It's so annoying. I understand, but there is quite a simple solution to get around it. So yeah, that's my advice for scaling with those batteries.
Absolutely. So if you're using the standard H inverter, H series, especially the older generation, you can have up to 7 batteries plus the BMS. And if you're using the K series, you can have up to 8. And there's documentation and guides on the community about those maximums. And you might want to consider if you've got a very small investment so far. So there are people out there that have, say, 2 batteries, and they really want to scale large. It might be an opportunity actually to sell your version ones on the group and upgrade to something like a cube or an EP range. That seems to be quite common as people selling their existing systems as a kind of like a bulk purchase and then upgrading. It's inevitable with Fox bringing out all these latest generations of products, and a lot of it's being guided regulatory, so having to remove external cables or the risk of misconfiguration or misconnecting. That's where the EPs and the cubes are coming from, and you can see that evolution with the PowerQ inverter, how it just drops on the top. You can't get it wrong. So one thing to stress: Fox have all of the stock for RMAs. So if you've got an investment and you've got a 10-year warranty, a 5-year warranty, whatever your warranty terms is or left, Fox will support you through the end of your lifetime of your warranty. So that's all protected. But it's the scaling where you're going to have to think about it. So if you've already got, say, 5 or 6 HV2600s and you want to take advantage of a full stack, then yeah, BMS upgrade. Because of the cables on the HV series, and depending on how comfortable you are, you may want to have an installer do it for you. It's not like the cubes where you can't go wrong. The HV you can go wrong, and you can potentially short circuit your whole stack, and you're looking at a very expensive paperweight. So you've got to take it slow and follow the manual. But if you obviously always recommended to have professional installation as well to maintain your compliance and the certification that you have. I also this was brought up on the Q&A with Craig about how not only the HV but the MIRA and the LV range have dropped from the site, and Craig did confirm that those kind of 3 product models are all they're all in the process of being phased out. So if you want to scale any of those models and you have them, now is the time to do it. One, because we're coming into winter where your battery usage is going to increase, but also if you just want to finish off and get yourself, if you've always been running out of power at sort of 8 o'clock in the evening and you thought, oh, an extra battery or 2 will allow me to be self-sufficient off my solar and off my overnight charge, now is the time to do it. I can't stress that enough. Whilst these product ranges are still out there, in a year's time, you may find that you're not able to scale your MIRA, your HV2600, and your LV range. LVs have had a bit of a patchy past already.
If I could jump in there, apologies for interrupting. We had the exact thing with the LV5200. People, I was having daily calls saying, thinking about it. And I said, well, they're hard to get hold of. They're becoming impossible to get hold of. And then 2-3 weeks later, I'm still thinking about it. Is there a discount and all of that? And I said, listen, there's that many left. They're not, haven't inflated the price or anything, but that is all that's there. And then 2 months later, hello, James, I'd like to expand. I'm ready. sorry, they're gone. And it was me that was always almost made out to be the bad guy. And I you know, it's worth, if we know, this is why these community chat wheel are fantastic, because you're trying to spread the word that these things are happening. So I would reiterate what Will says. If you are thinking of doing it, maybe just bite the bullet and get it done while you can, because otherwise you may regret it. And I certainly, and we at SunVolt, do not inflate any kind of prices just because we know a battery is going out of action. That's not how we work. If whether I've got one or 1,000, or access to one or 1,000, the price will be the same and the service will be the same. So if you are looking to expand and you want to buy yourself a nice Christmas present from yourself, call me now and we'll get you sorted out. Not a problem.
No, absolutely, and it is addictive scaling your battery usage. It's a fun phenomenon that once it's installed, you can't help but figure out more is better. And yeah, now's the time for those generations. Like I say, rest assured, Fox have got all the support and the hardware in place to keep your system running for its warranty period. The expansion element of it is going to start to become limited for these ranges in the coming quarters, especially with the new generation stuff coming down. So Fox appear to be prioritizing the Cube setups and the EP range. So if you've got a new install going in and you're using either the ECS cubes of any size or any of the EP range, that's a sound investment. They're here, they're brand new, and they're scaling those models. They've got 4 or 5 EP ranges out already. So, but if you are looking at your system and going, I have a 3 or 4 year old HV2600 series, and I've always fancied another battery or two, especially with MIRA, they're almost interchangeable in terms of what they look like, but you have to make sure you match them. The LV range, as James said, has had a bit of a troubled history. They sold loads of the 5200s, then they changed out hardware to a point where they weren't compatible with the LV52, even though they looked very similar. And now they're also kind of on the way out, and that's probably because that is a generic battery for aftermarket inverters, whereas they want to focus on selling their own inverter hardware, I suppose. But that's all the topics for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. We've gone through a number of Fox announcements to give you an idea of how their R&D and the latest products are coming out, in addition to some industry news, and got the chance to hear straight from the horse's mouth with James from SunVolt. So really appreciate your time, James, in giving some thoughts to the community.
Yeah, thanks, Will. I appreciate it, and I just want to say to the Facebook community, I've been a part of this now for a year. I've done a lot of business with a lot of you. SunVolt, your wholesale solar sourcing specialist. We're here. Give me a call. My number's all over the group. Ring me, and you'll get me direct on the phone. And if I can help you and I can source a product for you, I will. So thank you very much, and I look forward to doing a lot more business with you all.
No worry. Most welcome. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. Catch up soon.